Hello, buenas tardes. Hey, how's everybody doing out there? Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Burn It Down with Kim Brown, the safe space where we set oppression ablaze and we know that something better can, will, and must arise from the ashes so we can be and live our best human lives at the highest heights possible. God damn it, without being under the oppression of capitalism. I'd like to welcome you all to the program. I am so excited to see y'all's very specific faces up in this very specific place. What's going on, Chuck Diesel? What's up, Craig Barter? What's up, Kev Z247? What's up, Freddie French? Toby Swoley's in the building. Hello, Northern Witch. How are you, darling? Wendy is with us today. I'm so very excited and so grateful that you all made some time to join us. What's up, Uakata? How you feeling, darling? How you feel? Thank you. Under the stinky one. I did not rip a stinky one, Uakata, but thank you, though, for being concerned. Listen, guys, we have a wonderful, wonderful show for you today. And before we even get into our rundown, let me just thank you all. Everyone who took the time and made the time to sign up and join us on Patreon at patreon.com/BIDWKB. Several of you all signed up for those annual memberships. And again, y'all did it the low cost way, like I suggested. That $2 or $5 tier, that turns into $51 if you're donating $5 a month, because with the 15% off. And if you're donating $2 a month, that adds up to $20.14. So you can support us for the entire year. And I want to thank everyone, because again, there was several of y'all who did this, much to my surprise. I was very grateful and appreciative. So thank you all so much for that. And if you like to, you can follow us different places around the internet, Facebook and Instagram. If they are working today, we are at BIDWKB. We're also on TikTok. And let me shout out to Princess Blending, who joined us Friday. She is the Liberation Party candidate for governor of Virginia. She tagged us in a clip on her TikTok. So we want to send thanks to Princess and wishing her the best on her campaign. And just a reminder, guys, early voting is already on and popping in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So, we endorse candidates around here. Y'all need to go ahead and vote for Princess Blending. She is already on the Virginia ballot. She is an official candidate. You should do that. Also, early voting is already underway in Buffalo, New York. And of course, we are supporting the Democrat Socialist India Walton. So again, if you reside in those areas, you should be casting some votes for the Black women. Please and thank you. Hey guys, on the agenda today. So at the bottom of the show, we're going to touch back in with some labor news. Obviously, y'all, unions across this country, rather workers who are union members across this country, are understanding that there is power in their organizing and power in their solidarity. Shout out to the workers at the Kelloggs facilities in, I believe it's Grand Rapids, it's Memphis, and it's two other places. I will have those places ready for y'all when I'm ready to talk about the story. It escapes my memory at the moment. But the Kelloggs workers in 4 of their locations have decided to strike. They are striking right now. The IATSE members, the union that represents, the production workers in Hollywood and people who work at different major venues across this country, their members have responded affirmatively to a vote. And the vote said strike, goddammit. So we're going to talk about that later on in the program. And shout out to Talisha Conklin. Is Talisha Conklin in the house? Talisha Conklin tagged me in a tweet. It might have been this morning or maybe it was yesterday. But it's a story floating around Twitter that talks about the forgotten cop riot of 1992 in New York City, led by none other than y'all's boy, Rudolph Klansman north of the Mason-Dixon line, Giuliani. And Giuliani apparently has been a domestic terrorist for decades now. Now, this should probably come as no surprise to the viewers here at Burn It Down with Kim Brown, as we have long known that Giuliani was a terrorist when he was mayor of New York. Giuliani was a terrorist when he was attorney general. He worked in some sort of prosecutorial fashion in New York City. Giuliani's been a terrorist this whole time. And January 6th, 2021, when he incited the Trump inciters, the Trump insurrectionists, and said to them, let's have a trial by combat, and then turned them loose down Pennsylvania Avenue where they was looking to hang Mike Pence. Yes, we're gonna take a little peek back at Rudolph Giuliani, OG domestic terrorist. But speaking of domestic terrorism, we would be remiss if we did not begin with a story about police. But this isn't just a story about police. This is another installment of Burn It Down with Kim Brown's Cops Ain't Shit edition. And the spotlight today is going to be on the capital city of Ohio, Columbus, Ohio. Shout out to all my Ohioans out there. Shout out to all the Leverts and Bootsy Collins and them's relatives, and shout out to Bone Thugs and Harmony, and shout out to Ray Cash, and shout out to Halle Berry, and shout out to Jane Kennedy, all the famous Black Ohioans. We love Ohio. Ohio is where it's at. Cincinnati, Cleveland, beautiful, beautiful places. But Columbus, the police go a little hard in Columbus, right? And it's disturbing the lengths of hard that the Columbus police go. But before we could even really get into talking about Columbus police, we actually have to take a step back and talk about public safety in Ohio, right? As many of us may know, or some of us may not know, that Ohio might be ground zero for the big opioid crisis. We know New England has been hit very hard with the opioid crisis. We know lots of places around America have been hit very hard by the opioid crisis. Tuna, if you could pop up that first article for me, I believe it's A1. Guys, the opioid crisis is tremendous in Ohio. And the reason I'm leading off with this is just an example of how police do not keep us safe, right? And when it comes to the basic elements of public safety, police absolutely do not keep us safe. So this piece that we're looking at right here, this is from the Ohio Capital Journal, and this was published this summer. This is actually published on July 6th. Lead sentence, everybody. At least 5,215 Ohioans fatally overdosed on drugs last year. Let me run that back for y'all. 5,215 people in one state, the state of Ohio, fatally overdosed on drugs last year, in 1 year. According to a new government data, this is nearly a 22% increase over 2019 numbers, okay? So the state of Ohio was already in a calamitous condition when it comes to opioid overdoses. However, and we know 2020 with the pandemic made things worse. It was already bad. So this data, which is released Wednesday by the National Center for Health Statistics, shows that the Ohio uptick was much more modest than the national rate, but more than 93,000 Americans fatally overdosed in 2020. But the 2020 data reverses what was a promising trend. Instead of decreasing drug overdoses in Ohio, they actually went up, like I said, 22% in 1 year. Over 5,000 Ohioans died as a result of opioid fatal overdoses or related opioid overdoses, right? So keep that in mind, right? Keep that, hold that statistic very close in your head. Tunde, if you could, my brother, pop up for me A2. So one would think that with the opioid crisis being what it was, that police might be interested in ending the opioid epidemic, right? That is what I guess our social conditioning reasoning would teach us, right? But our logical, common sense, seeing the world not through rose-colored lenses, understands that chances are that the reasons why the opioid epidemic is so bad in Ohio, because there's a very good chance that the police themselves are pushing these opioids, right? Right? CIA in the 80s, crack epidemic, anybody, right? This is not unusual. Gun trace task force in Baltimore City, anybody? Yes, the police sell drugs every fucking where, all the time and twice on Sundays. But the police in Columbus, show they. When I say these niggas went hard, they said, no. We understand that the state is dealing with an opioid crisis here. We understand that over 5,000 people died in the state in 1 year. We understand that. But our response is to, you know what, let's sell all the drugs. Tunde, if we could please look at A2.
Before we get to Lacey, we do want to show you this video. Look at this. This is just coming into the 10 TV newsroom. It shows one of those Columbus police officers getting booked at the Delaware County Jail. John Kachkowski will make a first appearance in court today virtually. All right, let's get to Lacey. She has more on what the Department of Justice is saying all about this. Lacey, lots of developments happening with this right now.
Yeah, and we've just gotten the documents. It says the two narcotics officers are accused of being involved in the sale and distribution of about 7.5 kilograms of fentanyl. Now, the reports also say that those officers are accused of taking money to provide security for the cartel while transporting drugs. Now, the FBI says in the court records they have recorded conversations between the two officers and an undercover informant. The officers, 33-year-old John Kachkowski and 44-year-old Marco Marino, were arrested yesterday and taken into federal custody. 10 TV cameras were there as the FBI agents took evidence from Marino's home. Now, according to unsealed court documents, Kachkowski told Marino if he ever told anyone about their illegal activity, he would have his wife and kids killed. Now, the Fraternal Order of Police said in a statement, if these allegations are true, these individuals have no place in the Fraternal Order of Police or the Columbus Division of Police. Now, the DOJ confirms to me that Marino was arrested yesterday at the airport. Now, Marino is scheduled for a court hearing tomorrow. Kachkowski will be in court this afternoon. Reporting live, Lacey Crisp, 10 TV News.
Shirley, we need you to keep up, mama. Did she say the cops were selling drugs? Baby, the cops were selling kilos of fentanyl. Fentanyl, the shit that exclusively kills you. Fentanyl don't do nothing but kill. You can't even have a nice fun high of fentanyl. No. The commercial that they're running around the DMV is at like 2 grams, like not even 2 grams, 2 grains of salt worth of fentanyl is enough to kill a person. The cops was pushing 8 keys. They had 8 kilograms of fentanyl, right? And again, these are federal charges that these police are facing. They were narcotics police, oh, the irony. And the younger one, Marino, they caught him at the airport. Marino said, I'm getting the fuck out of town. According to the Department of Justice documents, is that the younger one, the Marino, the 33-year-old officer that is alleged to have been selling these kilos of fentanyl, he was actually trying to figure out how to get citizenship in Mexico, allegedly trying to figure out how to buy properties in Mexico in order to launder all this money. So what it seems as though Marino perhaps was the junior officer in this operation, and the gentleman with the multi-syllabic last name, whom I'm not going to try to pronounce right now, he was in charge. As you heard in the report, the older white officer told the younger Latinx cop that, hey, if you tell anybody about this, I'm going to kill your whole family, right? Okay, way to go there, police. Way to keep the community safe. And so that's just a small example, right? I know, Shirley, I'm here with you, baby. We here to keep up. What's up with you, Luke Kang? What's up? Who else we got up in here? We got everybody up in here. Hello, Melody. Hello. I'm so happy to see y'all. Of course, Chuck, Kev, and everybody else. We got a Jenny. Hello, Jenny. Listen, abolition is the only answer, because you know what? You can't reform that, okay? But wait, I'm not finished. I'm not finished with Columbus Police, because as I said, Ohioans would tell you that Columbus Police have a notorious, terrible reputation. When I was doing my research for this, I found stories literally going back many years about accusations of excessive force and unjustified killings by the Columbus Police. For example, not that this matters, but there was an ATF agent who actually filed a lawsuit against the Columbus Police for allegations of use of excessive force against them, right? The ATF agent got tased by the police themselves. Now, not that we give a fuck about that, but here's what we do give a fuck about, okay? So for a long time, Columbus Police have just been going about their community policing completely unfettered, unchecked, unruly, out of control. But that somewhat got tiny bit yoked back. They leashed them up a tiny bit and yanked that leash up a little bit after 2020 and the protests that happened in Columbus about the murder of George Floyd. Now, if you've been watching Burn It Down with Kim Brown the whole time, or even if you even go back with us to Stir Crazy days, we was all over that shit, okay? A congresswoman representing that area, her name was Joyce Beatty, a black woman, was out at the Justice for George Floyd protest in Columbus and got pepper sprayed in the face by the cops, right? Cops did not give a fuck that this was a sitting member of Congress. They didn't give a shit. And they also pepper sprayed some other notable elected officials, I believe, including the president of the Columbus City Council, who I think is also a black person, possibly even a black woman. I'm trying to rely off my shady fucking memory here, y'all. But Columbus has been going hard in terms of their police. I want us to take a look, if we could, today at A3, because the actions of the Columbus police were so egregious during the year 2020, they actually had to be collected by a federal judge, right? And in the federal judge's ruling regarding this use of force lawsuit against protesters, the judge does a good job of laying it out. But again, the expectation from this ruling is that police will eventually police themselves, and we know that they are incapable of doing that. But I think that the judge's decision, at least their words, hopefully will have some impact, but I'll let you guys decide that. Tune in. If we could please take a look at A3. You guys, this clip is courtesy of NBC4 Columbus.
A federal judge says Columbus police ran amok last year when responding to demonstrations regarding racial injustice. Now he is ordering the division to change its tactics. The federal court order handed down today favors 26 protesters who have claims of police brutality. Good evening to you, everybody, and thanks for being with us. I'm Kerry Charles.
I'm Colleen Marshall. NBC4 was the first on air and online to give you details. This is it, the chief judge's 88-page decision. Now, it bars the use of tear gas, pepper spray, or wooden bullets against nonviolent protesters. The judge says the unrest that followed the murder of George Floyd proved to be a tragic flashpoint between the COVID-19 pandemic and deep-seated racism. And in his courtroom, he had the video evidence of what resulted here, an excessive use of force against peaceful protesters. Passive, non-resistant protesters, some with hands up, some walking away or obeying orders to disperse, nonetheless shoved, hit, pepper sprayed by police. In his order, Judge Marbley calls it a sad tale of police officers clothed with the awesome power of the state run amok.
I hope people read it. It's very thoughtful and it has some historical perspective. That's
Attorney Fred Gittes represented some of the 26 plaintiffs, including Alita Mixon, who was pepper sprayed, shoved, and had her knee broken when an officer stepped on her leg after she asked police for help finding her daughter. Gittes says the decision opens a window of hope.
Start holding police officers accountable.
Something Judge Marbley says has not happened yet. He concludes that even though the mayor and then Chief Quinlan admitted officers' video-recorded conduct was improper, there have been zero reports by officers of excessive force by others during the protests, zero disciplinary actions or criminal charges for excessive force, and zero efforts to relieve violent officers from duty. He wants officers essentially to tell on each other.
Well, they have a duty to do that. That's the officer's job. It's not telling on them. It's the one officer doing their duty with respect to an officer that is breaking the law.
Congresswoman Joyce Beatty was not part of the lawsuit.
As you know, I was there in a peaceful protest.
But she was pepper sprayed last summer, and she has seen the video evidence in this case.
We hear too many police officers chanting and celebrating and bragging about doing things that we know should have never happened, whether that's pulling a mask off to someone and pepper spraying them, or a female asking for assistance to find her daughter, or me saying this is not right, that we are using bicycles as shields and pushing people to the ground and pepper spraying them.
We've got a problem. It has not been fixed, and it won't be fixed if we just leave it to the Division of Police.
But Gittes says now this court order is in place, and officers or supervisors who ignore it will have to answer to a federal judge. Judge Algernon Marbley limits the use of non-lethal force on peaceful protesters, orders police to ensure body and vehicle cameras are on and working, prohibits the infliction of pain to deter non-violent protesters, and even protects the rights of reporters to be present and record the protests.
So that was from NBC4 Columbus, and that was from earlier this year. However, in that report, some things have already been updated. There have been 3 Columbus police who are charged in connection to excessive force charges related to the protests of 2020, but they are all charged with misdemeanors. They're charged with misdemeanors. Y'all heard they broke a woman's leg. And the cop said, we're just gonna give them some misdemeanors. What? Some misdemeanors. Yep, they're facing 3 misdemeanor counts of assault, dereliction of duty, 3 counts of interference with civil rights. How the fuck are these misdemeanors, yo? Yep. So there's that. So out of all the unruliness shown by Columbus Police, or the Division of Law Enforcement, whatever they call it officially there in Columbus, Ohio, despite the unconstitutional, unruly behavior by their police, only 3 have been charged in connection with assaulting protesters during 2020, despite the fact that a sitting congressperson, not to say that you got to treat her nicer than everybody else, but you would think that just perhaps and maybe that they may not want to pepper spray the lady congressperson in the face. But she's black, so we know how that goes, right? But Columbus Police, everybody, I believe that they are still under, I don't think that they have officially come under consent decree by Department of Justice. Molly, if you're able, could you Google that for me? I don't think that they are officially under a consent decree. But here's the thing about consent decree, guys. Anytime that the Department of Justice steps into the podium and they have a nice press conference and they talking about all these egregious actions by a local police department, and we're going to step in and have a consent decree, and then there's going to be federal oversight. Let me explain something to you, Chief. 2015, Baltimore City indicated to me that those consent decrees are not worth the paper that you could wipe your ass with, okay? The federal investigators from the Department of Justice were doing ride-alongs with Baltimore City Police as they were doing illegal shit and doing illegal shit in front of the federal investigators, and the federal investigators were just documenting it, right? They didn't step in. They didn't tell them to stop. They didn't tell them to stop violating people's civil rights. They didn't tell them to stop doing any of that shit. They just wrote it down. They just took notes, right? And so when the consent decree came out and was released, it was all this clamor from the elected officials and from the police leadership that we're going to get our house in order. And let me assure you, some 7 years later, 6 to 7 years later, after the Department of Justice consent decree against Baltimore City Police, I assure you, Baltimore City Police are out here doing as much fuckery as they was 6 to 7 years ago. So all them consent decrees don't do nothing except document the problem, which I guess to a point is needed. But call it what it is. Say that you're writing a report. Don't say that you're stepping in to intercede in trying to rein in the behavior of the police, of this police department, because that's not what you're going to do. And the fact that this federal judge's ruling itemized, to me, a good list of things that the police need to adhere to, who is going to enforce that, right? Portland, Oregon, raise your hand if it was decreed last year that Portland police were not to use rubber bullets or tear gas against protesters. And what did the Portland police do after such a decree? They went out in the streets and immediately used rubber bullets and tear gas against protesters. Same thing in Washington, D.C. Muriel Bowser, the mayor, said no more tear gas and pepper spray. And what did Metropolitan Police do? They went out and bought all new, new and improved. They got the 2022 tear gas ready to go, So the criminal and justice system, again, is there to notate when the police do egregious constitutional violations and little else, unless you're actually going to prosecute these cops for significant things. And again, it has to be prosecutions and you lose your job. Like, it can't just be Officer Friendly got fired after he ran people over or broke a protester's leg. No, like it has to be Officer Friendly got fired and Officer Friendly has been charged. Those 3 police officers in Columbus who have been charged with misdemeanors in connection to the assaults of protesters in 2020, they also have their jobs. Okay, so there's a very good chance that they could easily return to duty and be out here doing the same shit, because so much of this relies upon police. And like the lawyer said, to say it's informing upon themselves, I mean, that is exactly how they view it, right? But if you're going to stand by while your fellow officer is assaulting people who are walking away, assaulting people who are complying with orders, or even things way more egregious than that, sexual harassment and assault, and or maybe selling a few kilos of fentanyl. I mean, who can really say? But, you know, if the cop who is standing by and watching the so-called bad cop commit these crimes and nefarious acts, then the cop who is being the observer is also ain't shit relative to the one who is actively doing the criminal act, right? Equally ain't shit, because if you're not going to get rid of them, then basically you're enabling their behavior. And when you enable that kind of behavior, you're saying that the person is internalizing that, like, oh, okay, I can keep doing this. Let me see if I can go ahead and do a little bit more. Let me see if I can do a little bit more. And circling back to the officers who have been charged, the narcotics cops who have been in charge with selling the kilos of fentanyl, y'all, that's just the stash that they knew about, right? How many more kilograms of fentanyl are these 2 officers responsible for bringing into the state of Ohio? Is it just fentanyl that they're responsible for bringing? Have they been trafficking other drugs? I mean, these guys were full-on employees of the cartel. Let the Department of Justice tell it. They've been probably running drugs for a long time. A lot of drugs. So just be clear, y'all, the war on drugs was, and always a farce. It was a means to an end in order to incarcerate Black and brown people for shit that white people walk away scot-free for, right? And the shit that basically, you know, it's that white economic money that is the main engine behind the drug trade, right? I'm sure we was responsible for some weed being brought in here, yes. But that cocaine train went a lot of places, did it not? That cocaine train was going to Wall Street, and that cocaine train was going to Southeast DC, and that cocaine train was going a lot of places. But, you know, we know who it is that was always the intended targets of the war on drugs. And again, the war on drugs was never a war that the United States government ever intended to win. It was a war on knuckles, and it was a war on Afro niggas. And it was a war on non-whites all day. And what happens when you allow the police to police themselves is what, for one, they don't police themselves. They allow themselves to run amok. They allow themselves to sell drugs. They allow themselves to become menaces to society in the communities in which they are supposed to serve. And most importantly, guys, I mean, there are missing women and girls, missing Black women and girls, missing trans Black women and girls out of Columbus who are not found, right? And I wanted to say their names, and hold on, let me apologize, because this is something I totally meant to put on my doc, and I did not do that, and I'm very disappointed in myself for not doing that. But kind of circling back to what other people have been talking about, and now that has become a story since the disappearance and subsequent murder of Gabby Petito, that it seems as though a lot of these news agencies are trying to report missing and murdered Indigenous women and Black women more since they got caught out on their bullshit. And one of the ways in which police continue to fail the community is when they don't come looking for us, right? Oh, and let me also not forget that it was Columbus police who shot and killed Ma'Khia Bryant, 16-year-old who would have turned 17 this week, who shot her outside of her home while she was wielding a knife in a stand your ground state in the state of Ohio. That young woman, Ma'Khia Bryant, had every right to stand her ground if she thought that her life was threatened, and the police came and shot her on sight, and made no attempt to disarm her, or and the police actually endangered the lives of lots of other people by shooting in a situation where there was others around, and he could have missed her. So, but I wanted to mention Lachey Dungy, 19-year-old missing black girl from Columbus, Ohio. Hold on, I'm gonna put this up real quick, 'cause I think you guys should be able to see this. Can you see this? That's her picture posted by her people on Twitter. Lachey Dungy, 19 years old, missing from Columbus, Ohio. And there's another woman's name that I wanted to say as well. Yes, Sequoia Cooper. Okay, this is the black trans woman, 33 years old, has been missing from Columbus since August 31st of 2021. Black trans woman. There are news articles about her disappearance, but they all include her dead name. So absolutely, we do not want to dead name our trans brothers and sisters. And this is Sequoia. I think you guys should be able to see that. Let me know if that's not seeable today, but that's Sequoia. So Columbus police are terrorizing the community. They are selling drugs in the community, and they are not trying to find our missing and possibly murdered black women. So that's how Columbus police cops ain't shit. Brought to you today by Burn It Down with Kim Brown. I hate talking about the police, y'all, but we have to, because if we don't, then our elected officials will just, we need more cops, us to death, right? We need money for more police. Oh, the problem is, or rather the solution to the problem is more police. We need more police on the streets. We need more resources for police. We need more training for police. We need more access to resources and materials and equipment for police. No, the fuck we don't. Because the police don't do what the fuck they promised to do. Sugar Burger said, what does dead name mean? So for trans people who have stepped into their new identity, like talking about their old name, like the names that they were given by their parents or, when they were born. So if a trans woman was assigned male at birth, Tyrone, right? You can't, once that trans person, transitions to being a woman, they prefer you not call them Tyrone. So that's dead naming from my limited understanding of how that works. If someone has a better explanation, please do us a favor and inform us all. So that's dead naming. So yeah, so we don't want that, and we don't support that for our trans folks who have transitioned. No, you call them by the name that they have asked you to call them. So there's that. I wanted to move along, guys. And while we're here, let me take a short pause for the cause and remind everyone to please smash that subscription button if you have not already. We would really appreciate it if we could get our subscribers up, and follow us places around the internet, BIDWKB, Instagram, Facebook, and we're also on TikTok. Burn It Down with Kim Brown, I believe, is the TikTok account. So if you could just follow us there, we would certainly appreciate it. Now, speaking of domestic terrorists, right? Speaking of drug dealing, civil rights violating, assholes who believe that they live above the law, Rudolph Giuliani has been the grandest of assholes for at least 35 years, maybe longer. Definitely longer. How old is Rudy Guiliani? Hold on, let me ask Siri. Hey Siri. How old is Rudy Giuliani?
Rudy Giuliani is 77 years old.
7 years old worth of asshole. Okay, so Giuliani's been assholing it up for quite a while, right? And I know a lot of people who may not have been watching New York politics or even familiar with how NYPD was getting down. Y'all, New York used to be wild. Used to be really, really wild in the 90s. So New York elected at the beginning of the decade in the 90s, New York elected its first ever black mayor, David Dinkins. I believe did David Dinkins get elected in 90? fuck it, we'll say 90. No, I don't think it's definitely 90, but he got elected early on in the 90s. And to be the first black anything in America is to expect a truckload of racism, right? And for people to think that perhaps New York City is so diverse and so welcoming, no, you've got that all wrong. When it comes to black folks, New York is very racist. It's a racist place. The New York police have a long documented history of racist policies, racist engagement. The way that the New York Police Department forces are distributed through across the city used to be tremendously in black and brown places. Now it's gentrifying black and brown places, right? The NYPD wanted to make it uncomfortable for the longtime historical residents of some of these neighborhoods in order for the white folks with money to feel more comfortable when they moved into the neighborhood, right? Oh man, the Dominicans is blasting their loud music. Police! Police! Can you come tell these people who lived here for 50 years to turn their music down? Thank you. Thank you. But there was a story floating around today on the Twitters, and Talisha Conklin tagged me in it. Shout out to math activists on Twitter. I saw them responding to it. So this is the piece here. Tunde, if you could pop up B1 for me, please. So I think this was, NY Mag, right? But I think it's their section called The Intelligencer. Yes. Yeah, but so in The Intelligencer is a spinoff or offshoot of nymag.com. And the headline, y'all, the Forgotten City Hall Riot. So back in 1992, I thought this was earlier than this, but 92. So I was wondering, I'm like, how come I have no memory of this? Yes, because I was in the 8th grade and could have give a fuck about what was happening with Rudy Giuliani in the NYPD. But this story has been making the rounds. Just as a bit of context to add as to how New York former mayor, New York Giuliani, former attorney general, I believe up there as well, New York Giuliani. I keep calling him New York Giuliani. I'm trying to say Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani, before he was Donald Trump's lawyer and Donald Trump's lapdog, and speaking to the January 6th insurrectionists before they went in and stormed the Capitol, Giuliani's been at this for a long time, okay? Giuliani has been stirring up far right-wing forces from New York to D.C. and places all in between there and then some. I want us to take a look at the piece from New York One that covered this cop riot, basically what it was, in 1992 as it was happening. Now, the blatant 90s local media biases are all in there. And you all will probably be tickled by them here in the 21st century. But y'all, I mean, the only thing missing was the burning crosses and then the Klan hoods. That's the only thing that was missing. Everything else, it looked like a Klan rally of yore. No, this was not a Klan rally. It was a 90s Klan rally of 10,000 drunken New York City police officers led by none other than one of the Grand Wizards himself, Rudy Giuliani. Let's go back in time, y'all. New York, 1992.
They marched around City Hall Park in a peaceful and orderly fashion. But then, minutes later, thousands of cops stormed through the barricades and ran on top of cars as they charged the stairs of City Hall. Their message rang loud and clear. These cops were here to put pressure on Mayor David Dinkins, hoping he would reconsider his request for an all-civilian complaint review board. The board hears complaints about city police officers. Right now, it consists of 12 people, equally represented by civilian and police members. These cops don't want it to change, and they had support from the mayor's arch-rival, Rudy Giuliani.
The reason the morale of the police department of the city of New York is so low is one reason and one reason alone: David Dinkins!
Let's assume this is the worst legislation known to man. It is still no excuse for the behavior at least the reports I've gotten of how they behaved out there today. And I say that Phil Caruso and the leadership of the PBA is responsible, and for Rudy Giuliani to urge them on, as it were, it demonstrates an irresponsibility on his behalf.
The rally was organized by the Cops Union, the Patrolmen's Benevolent Association, and they brought all their big weapons to protest the CCRB changes, including Officer Michael O'Keefe, who was recently cleared by a grand jury investigation after he shot and killed a convicted drug dealer in Washington Heights last summer. Just whether this protest will have an impact on the CCRB won't be known for at least a few months. The future of the Civilian Complaint Review Board lies in the hands of the City Council Committee on Public Safety. They'll begin hearings on Thursday when they listen to public officials. Then in October, they'll listen to the public. After that, they'll decide whether to make any changes to the Civilian Complaint Review Board.
That clip from NY1 News, but it was actually found on a YouTube channel called This Week in Fascism. You guys should check them out also. Freddie French in the comments says, ew, they're just like the Proud Boys now. Baby, those are the Proud Boys' daddies. A number of those January 6th insurrectionists came from north of the Mason-Dixon, y'all. They came from Jersey, they came from Pennsylvania, they came from New England, they came from New York City. The cracker vibe is pervasive up north, and New York especially. And Shirley says, all that for a civilian board. Girl, who else said? Tyler Hacknett says it's a Nazi rally. Baby, we just calling the things as we see them, right? That sure enough looked like a Nazi rally to me. With the lone Negro up there, y'all saw him, right? And this was Officer Friendly, who just got cleared after he shot and killed a convicted drug dealer. What? Was he convicted before the cop shot him or after he executed him? Is that why the cop executed him, for being a convicted drug dealer? Anyway, but back to your boy Rudy Giuliani. So y'all see that shit, right? Giuliani got to lead a whole cop riot through Manhattan to City Hall and called out David Dinkins as the reason why New York City police officers have such low morale, or trying to blame things on Mayor Dinkins, right? All he wanted was some civilian oversight. And the Klansman said, absolutely not. What you mean? We have to take accountability for fucking up niggas? Unheard of. That's absurd. Those expectations cannot be put upon us. We shall storm the City Hall. And that's exactly what they did. So how is it different than what happened on January 6th? No way is different. Because it was police and military out with the January 6th insurrectionists too. But in between that incident in 1992 at City Hall in New York, and between what happened at the U.S. Capitol in D.C. on January 6th, Rudy Giuliani has had a hell of a political run, has he not? He was able to oust David Dinkins and become the next mayor of New York. Rudy Giuliani, in turn, was a terrible mayor for Black and brown people in New York. He's the one who hastened the policies of broken windows policing, where police were able to literally fuck with people for any reason whatsoever, basically. And to exacerbate the levels of over-policing in areas that had a prone to so-called broken windows, which birthed or evolved policies like stop and frisk, which Rudy Giuliani was 100% in favor of. It was Giuliani who also ran the hip hop squad, right? The special unit of NYPD officers who were targeting people who were working in the music industry and targeting rappers, etc. So Giuliani was terrible. Who else put it up in the chat? 9/11, yes. That is what rode Giuliani to national prominence. The fact that he was the mayor on 9/11, and he was long framed as what, guys? America's mayor. Do y'all remember that bullshit? And then come to find out, which, by the way, niggas already do, that Giuliani was batshit crazy, that Giuliani was racist out his fucking gourd, and Giuliani is a crook, period, point blank. And shout out to everyone, I don't know if y'all mentioned it today, but people have been mentioning it today on Twitter. The PBA, the Patrolmen's Benevolence Association, basically the FOP of New York City, had their headquarters raided today by FBI. Allegedly, the head of the PBA had his home raided by the FBI. Now, again, just because white people get arrested does not mean white people's going to jail. So let us, internalize this information, but be guarded and maintain a healthy level of skepticism. Because again, as we're seeing with all these January 6th so-called prosecutions, etc., a lot of these Bamas is getting home detention and probation. So miss me with justice and accountability when it comes to players like Rudy Giuliani and those who run police unions, because very seldom are they ever held to account, especially relative to the level of harm that they create and distribute to the rest of us. So from my perspective, Rudy Giuliani has been a domestic terrorist for over 40 years. And if you are a domestic terrorist in the United States and you are a white man and you are a connected white man, oh, baby, the sky's the limit. It's nothing but up. I'm telling you, your career options know no bounds, honey. You can go from leading a cop riot from City Hall to actually being the right-hand man of the President of the United States. It is not a demerit on your character. No. It shows that you have gumption and fortitude and you stand up for what you believe in, right? But if that was niggas, like, let that have been David Dinkins out there with the guardian angels, 10,000 guardian angels, and marching towards the city hall in which Rudy Giuliani was the sitting mayor. Baby, they'd have pulled out the tanks, they'd have brought out the missiles, they'd have brought out the Scuds, they'd have brought out the LRAPs, they'd have brought out all kinds of shit. But white people get to tear up America without consequence. And you know what? When this is how we feel about America as a result. And for my visually impaired people, this is a middle finger salute that I'm giving right now to the camera, because that's how we feel about America, because America lets white people tear up everything and then won't put niggas in jail behind it. So anyway, where are we at? How you guys doing? Everybody doing all right? I see we in here. I see Liu Kang managed to put his video game down to come in here and hang with us. Thank you, Liu Kang. What's up, I Manifesto? How you feel, baby? I'm very glad to see you all in here. I'm glad y'all are hanging out. Giuliani's wife kicked him out of the mayor's mansion for cheating. Now, was that his cousin wife or was that the wife he was not related to? and let me listen. I saw when it was widely being circulated that Giuliani had married his cousin, I saw people on Twitter like getting these jokes off, and I saw one very sage lady say, "Now listen, black and browns now. I know we getting these jokes off, but some of y'all come from communities in which y'all cousins was getting married too. So maybe y'all need to be quiet. Y'all should shh just a little bit." But no, Giuliani's fucking awful. And then, don't you remember he was going around the country telling people that COVID was not a thing, and then consequently spreading COVID all over the country? I mean, my God. Just the absolute worst actors in the United States, especially in our political theater, are the ones that ascend to tremendous high heights. Not the ones that actually do good by the people. Not the ones that actually try to so-called level the playing field or make the future any better. No, no. It is always the worstest of the worstest are the ones that get to go up. And the rest of us, well, we get stuck with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Like, did this bitch go to the Met? It's like, wait. What just happened here? Anyway, moving on, you guys, to our last segment, and it says everything to do with the good labor movement, because as you all know, workers are fed the fuck up. Aren't you a worker? Aren't you fed the fuck up? Yep, I am too. I am extremely fed up. Which is why we are here. Actually, this is the exact reason as to why we are here. So let's go ahead and start with the active action that's happening right now. So Kellogg's workers, guys, if you could pop up C1 for me, please, Tunde. This tweet is from, wait, is that right? Yes, that's right. Okay. Yes. Thank you. C2. Thank you, Today. You already knew what I was looking for before I was. So this tweet is from Jonah Furman, who writes for labornotes.org. The tweet reads, 1400 BC TGM. Now class, raise your hand if you remember what BC TGM stands for. I'll give y'all 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Bakers, confectioners, tobacco workers, grain makers. Yes, the BCTGM, the worst acronym on earth. Anyway, the BCTGM workers, 1,400 of them at Kellogg's are on strike as of midnight in Memphis, Omaha, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and Battle Creek, Michigan. That's from Jonah Furman from labornotes.org. And this first clip I want us to look at, and again, it's pretty limited because these are just short clips that Tunde put together. So this is going to be from Battle Creek, Michigan. And this is posted by a reporter by the name of Dana Winter, who is a reporter for Wood TV, WOOD TV, I believe, in Grand Rapids. So we're going to get a picture of the workers outside of the Kellogg's plant in Battle Creek. And the second clip that we're going to hear is going to be from an electrician who works for Kellogg by the name of Byron Lecce. So Tunde, if we could please take a look at this clip from reporter Dana White from WOOD TV in Michigan.
Our future is not for sale. 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 Our future is not for sale.
Everybody in this plant makes incredible sacrifices that most people wouldn't understand. They work 8 days a week, at least. And that's months on end without a scheduled day off. I mean, some people in the plant don't have a scheduled day off for the entire year. So we're not willing to accept that anymore. We want to stand up for our transitional employees that deserve better. And the reason that we're going to stand up for them is to ensure that this union and the workers here at Kellogg's have a better future.
So what the young man is talking about there when he's talking about the workers of the future. So part of what Kellogg's is trying to do is that they're trying to split the union, right? They're trying to divide and conquer. The company wants a two-tiered system, whereas newer hires, people who are being hired by Kellogg's and even joining the BCTGMs, they would be paid at a different scale. Their benefits would not be the same. They would not receive the same amount of pay. They would not get the same amount of healthcare benefits, and relative to the workers that have been there longer. So that is, I would imagine, an attempt by the company to discourage new hires, new workers from joining the union, because it's like, oh, well, okay, well, if you join the union, you still not going to get the shit that Jim and them get because they've been here 15 years. You're going to get less. So you sure you want to join that union? I mean, all in efforts trying to diminish the power and the organizing might of the union there. And it's pretty shitty. And by the way, Kellogg's, as you guys can imagine, did very well last year during the pandemic, as a lot of people sat home and ate big bowls of cereal. Okay, so y'all know what we got to do, right? Everything Kellogg is off the table. You got to boycott Kellogg. You got to boycott your Kashi. Y'all know y'all eat Kashi cereal. Your Club crackers. Your Fruit Loops. You got to go back to them Target brand Fruit Loops, them 365 Fruit Loops, and just explain to the kids, hey, now, kids, we know y'all like your fruit by the foot and whatever the fuck the kids eat these days, but you got to tell them. I don't even know if fruit by the foot is made by Kellogg's, but we have to make sacrifices in order to stand with working people. So that's all that is to it. So guys, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Memphis, Tennessee, Omaha, Nebraska, and Battle Creek, Michigan. So be sure to stand with those Kellogg's workers. And by the way, y'all, those are only 4 locations of Kellogg's production facilities in which those workers have gone on strike. There's lots of others. I mean, there's at least a dozen other Kellogg sites now. If all those workers decide to go on strike, then we could probably get the company's attention. But in the meantime, we are going to stand with the workers that have walked out of the job and that are on the picket lines today. possibly in a city near you, okay? And lastly, y'all, in union news, the good people. Wait, did I have something else pertaining to that? Hold on, no. Sometimes I get ahead of myself. Maybe that's why. How can I get on amphetamines? I know some people trying to get off drugs. I'd like to get on some performance enhancing drugs. How do I get my hands on those? And don't DM me talking about I got an Adderall script for you, Kim. I'm not gonna buy that shit because that don't sound like a good idea. Yes. Okay, well, I'm good to go here. So yes, let's head to C3 here, Tunde. Yes, y'all, we talked about this last week. Thank you, Rain DeSud. Rain DeSud commented on our show Friday to let me know the update about this here news. By nearly unanimous margin, IATSE members in the TV and film production vote to authorize a nationwide strike. A strike. A strike. And this is really good. Oh shit. Some I got my window open. I can hear the beef outside. Oh, maybe I pick up my computer. We go outside, look at the beef together. Maybe they're not beefing. Maybe they just drunk talking loud. Back to IATSE, guys. This is a big deal. Okay, so the IATSE members, I already mentioned to you that they are a union, a big union, 60,000 strong. I believe in the high 80s percentage of union members, IATSE members, responded and or voted in this weekend's vote, because I think they got the strike authorization vote in their email Friday and or Thursday. A majority of them voted, and those who did vote, a majority of them voted overwhelmingly, again in the high 80s percentage wise to. Here we go. Results show that 90% of eligible union voters cast ballots, with more than 98% of them in support of strike authorization. Let me read that to you one more time since I was fucking that up. Results show that 90% of eligible union voters cast ballots, with more than 98% of them in support of strike authorization. That is directly from IATSE.org themselves. So this is coming out of Los Angeles. The International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees announced today that 60,000 members who work in television and film production across the country have voted by a nearly unanimous margin to grant IATSE International President Matthew Loeb the authority to call a strike. So they have not yet gone on strike. The members have voted. They have given the president authority to call a strike. This is the first time in IATSE's 128-year history that members of the union have authorized a nationwide strike. So this is actually very historical for the IATSE members. And listen, Hollywood and New Hollywood is on notice, my nigga. Like, they are very fortunate. I'm talking about the TV and movie production studios that a lot of the new season shit has already been shot, right? Like, we're already in the new fall season for a lot of TV stuff. So Hollywood is probably like, maybe we'll have to pay them. They've already done all of our work for this past season. Whatever. We could blow this off. We could put this off. Okay, put this off at your peril. Put this off at your peril. But so let me say this real quick. Hold on. So let me read again from the IATSE press release. Okay. In the 13 West Coast local unions where members work under the basic agreement, where it was required that 75% of the members voting in each local union approve the strike, vote for the members voting in each local union vote for that local union to approve authorized strike. Yes. So the same condition applied to the 23 locals across the nationwide in production hubs, including Georgia, Louisiana, Illinois, and New Mexico. Let me speak also from a local perspective about what's happening here with this IATSE strike, because I told you guys here in DC, it's IATSE Union Local 22. Very, I'll say influential. I don't know about powerful. I don't know how powerful Local 22 is here in the district, but they're everywhere. Like, every major DC performance venue that you can think of overwhelmingly uses union labor. And one of those big venues happens to be the John F. Kennedy Center for Performing Arts, which is a federally owned venue. Like, that is owned by the U.S. government, and they do have some sort of particular exceptions. But Local 22 IATSE represents those workers in production who work at the Kennedy Center. And from what I understand, what the Kennedy Center wants to take away from the union workers there is that they want to take away the time and a half on Sundays. They want to take away the 4-hour mandatory minimum because when union workers show up for a gig, you got to pay them for 4 hours, period, point blank. Like, even if you accidentally misscheduled them, if the person was scheduled and was under the assumption that they were there to work at a specific time, and let's say the manager got it screwed up, just because for simply arriving, right, the person gets paid for 4 hours. Rightfully so. I think that that's a wonderful way to guarantee that your workforce will not only come in, but be there with the incentive that they are going to at least make some money. And the Kennedy Center is trying to strip away some very, what I would call, basic provisions for their production crew, especially relative to the kind of performances that the Kennedy Center hosts, right? The Kennedy Center hosts Broadway shows. They host the National Symphony Orchestra. They host the Washington National Opera. And this is Washington fucking DC. Do y'all know how much rent is down at the Navy Yard? Navy Yard is one of them neighborhoods that they gentrified over the past 10, 15 years, where you probably could rent a whole apartment for a stack, maybe $1,200. And now it costs 3 stacks to live in Navy Yard, right? So it's amazing to me, and then not just particular to DC, but really nationwide, where everybody, consumers, workers, everybody, we are under so much increased pressure from rising costs in food, in transportation, in housing. And the fact that any business, regardless of industry, has the audacity to fix their mouth to try to tell their workers that they need to accept less? How you gonna try to tell people to accept less when everything costs more? That math don't math at all. So guys, I don't know what the IATSE folks want us to do in order to stand in solidarity with them, but we're just going to stand in solidarity with them until we get some instruction. I don't know if they're going to tell us to unsubscribe from Netflix or Hulu or whatever. That again is just something I am putting together. No one has actually said that, but whatever it is, we're going to do what we can to stick with them. And that goes double for the good folks that are on strike with Kellogg. So don't support Kellogg's products and stand in solidarity with the workers there. So guys, that's it. That's the show. Thank you all for all that you do. Thank you, Talisha Conklin, for the story suggestion. Thank you, Infinite Content, also for your story suggestion. Shote 100, Big Teal, James Thompson. I'd be so happy to see y'all in the building, man. And whomever, one of y'all asked me in the chat, or maybe it was in a comment under a video, but somebody asked, how come YouTube doesn't keep our live chat replays? And I asked Tunde, and Tunde said he didn't know. And so Tunde don't know, nobody knows. But I don't know why they be getting rid of the live chat. I know a lot of the comments that you guys put up, it tells me here, it says show or hide. And I always say show, and it's always fuck 12. It's always some shit that I agree with, right? It's never some shit that I'll never be disagreeing with. So I don't know why sometimes our videos don't retain the live chat, but for anyone who is watching this on the replay and for reasons unknown to us, the live chat is not available. That needs to give your ass incentive to get in here and get in this live chat action. Cause dare I say, we have the most poppin'est chat in all of these YouTube streets. Yeah, I said it. I don't give a fuck. Throw anybody name up there. Throw the shade room up there. Fuck them. We got our chat rock harder than anybody else's chat on the YouTubes. So that's that. I'm out. We throw the mic. We slam the mic down and walk away. Y'all have a great day. Rest of your evening. Join us back here for Burn It Down with Kim Brown Friday at 5 p.m. Join me tomorrow for Black Power Media's The Remix Morning Show, along with Dr. Jared Ball, Kalanji Changa, the Ear Dr. Kamal Franklin, Jacqueline Lukman, Warrior Class, Brother Balagoon, Ojate. We have a wonderful, wonderful, informative, and entertaining program for you over there at Black Power Media. It's The Remix Morning Show, 8 a.m. Eastern. I'll see you there tomorrow, and I'll see you guys back here Friday at 5 on behalf of Tunde and Male. Thank you all. We love y'all. Don't forget, COVID is out here jumping on people. I do not want it to jump on you. Wear your mask, wash your hands, social distance. See y'all later. Bye-bye.